Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, welcome back. It's Sunday, January 12th, and it is 9:18 p.m. Eastern Time. And tonight we are on tap for 2 videos, so let's get started. Now, I do have some people to thank, but I'm going to do that at the end of the show instead of the beginning. This will probably garner the same amount of attention as the last video that was called the most important thing you've never heard. This will be further to that. In fact, I'm going to call this part 2, and there's probably going to be all total probably 4 or 5 parts to this. Now, we're going to go through and examine some of this, but I do want to warn those of you that were kind of put off by the subject matter of the last one, parts of it anyway, and you know which parts I mean. We're not going to be talking about alternative meat sources in this video. You know what I mean by that. We are going to steer clear of that for this because it doesn't enter into this part of what I'm going to be talking about. Now, I have been kind of monitoring out there what people are saying about this, and it seems that it has attracted a ton of shills, and it's also attracted some lazy people that, you know, have just discounted the whole thing. And a lot of the reason they've discounted it is because of the website www.whoissomersetbellenoff.com. And I'm going to explain the difference between Glom's Calling and whoissomersetbellenoff.com. And I'm hoping that this kind of dissipates that. I hope. But there'll always be shills. There'll always be people that just poo-poo anything you bring up that is a little bit out of their comfort zone or a little bit out of the known realm. And, you know, I expected that. But if you haven't seen part 1, I would suggest you do, or this is probably not going to make sense to you. All right. Now, these are the 2 websites where the bulk of information is gathered. All right. One is called glomscalling.org, and the other is called whoissomersetbellenoff.com. All right. I'm going to explain the difference between these websites. This one, Glom's Calling, and in small letters it says to the far corners of the world, and indeed it does call to the far corners of the world. And I'm going to read to you because this is the official site. This is the only official site. The other site is researchers that have nothing to do with her personally. They are researching her. It is a group of researchers. And the reason that website is so new is because they keep taking it down. Somebody keeps taking it down. But they say if people had just read the website, it says, and I'm not talking about you guys per se. I'm talking mainly to the people on Twitter that are, you know, and other various forums that are too lazy to read what it says right there, because it says that this website will probably be taken down, but we'll be back. We always come back. It's been taken down several times. It has nothing to do with Somerset Bellenoff whatsoever. This is the official website, and to my knowledge, it is the only official website. All right. Now, what is the purpose of this? Well, it tells us right here. It's an information portal. This site serves as the official external communication vehicle for the World Governing Council and the Wetton Upper Chamber. If you've been directed here for instruction, note that most messages are intentionally obscure. If you have difficulty understanding a particular message, you may reach out to Luxembourg Cathedral on node 9 of the forgotten frequency. After authentication, you may receive additional instruction. In the upper chamber, we often say, debate is required, dissent is allowed, and betrayal is death. Bear this in mind as you read the instructions written herein. By the time information is posted here, the debate is over and dissent has been noted. Best regards, Somerset Belanoff. So Somerset Belanoff is the head of the World Governing Council and the Wetton Upper Chamber. I described a lot of this in the first video, and I don't want to go over information because there's too much information for me to be repeating things. So please, if you don't have a good solid foundation here and what I'm talking about, go back to the first video and view that. So if you will notice over here, and again, this is on the official website, we've got dates going back to January 2016, and it goes through every month until this month, January 2020. So what I am doing, I am going through every single one, and I've gotten through the first year, 2016. So that is why I'm saying that it'll take subsequent videos, because I intend to go through 2017, 2018, 2019, and well, there's not much for 2020 yet, but I'll probably tack that on to the end of the 2019 one. Okay, so that is where we're headed. We are going to analyze these messages, these cryptic messages that have come from Somerset Belanoff, and of course the the information, because it is cryptic. We may or may not have the answer, but I've researched it because I've been iced in today. So it was a great day to do this. All right. So that is the official website. And this is the other website. And this is the one that people are saying, oh, this is a new website, so they can't have been around that long, or somebody just created this as a LARP. No, they have been around for a long time, but they've been on different domains because they keep getting kicked off. So that answers that. They explain that in the website. So I don't know why that is such a stumbling block to so many people. To me, it makes perfect sense. Something of this nature would not be allowed to remain up for very long. There are various attacks against them, DDoS attacks and all sorts of stuff that have crashed the website many, many times. All right, so now after explaining that, because that seems to be the biggest, obstacle for people, and I don't know why, but it is, and let's start. Now, I also wanted to mention just briefly, and this will be pinned to the very first comment below, I have set up an alternative platform in case I get booted from YouTube for, well, gee, I don't know why. But anyway, this mirrors my YouTube. So once I upload something to YouTube, it's mirrored on this site. And I've done that so that I'm going to be setting up more as well, because I want people to be able to view this in a variety of places if I, am kicked off of YouTube. So this will be pinned to the first comment. And as I set up other platforms, I will pin them as well. And probably from now on, I will include that in the description of the video as well, for people that want to take note of it. All right. Now, so Belanoff, Somerset Belanoff rather, Somerset, apparently the first name, and Belanoff the last, but that is not her real name. Her real name is Elizabeth Somerset Fyodorova Boas Lyon Belanoff. So Belanoff is her official last name, but Somerset isn't. It's just a combination of Elizabeth Somerset and then Belanoff. So yeah, and there is somebody historically there is a Elizabeth Somerset, which is not her. So, but it is related to her. All right, now let's and of course here is the other on Twitter. This is the World Governing Council, House of Wetton, and it says directives from Somerset Belanoff and the Wetton Upper Chamber appear here. Electors and governors employ masking protocols when following this account. And several other people had said, oh, well, yeah, I went to the Twitter page and the World Governing Council only has 49 followers. So that, yes, they only have 49 followers because they're masked. They're masked. You can't see the followers. They don't want to be seen. Actually, I followed it and then I quickly unfollowed it because I don't want to be drawing attention to myself at all like that. It makes it easier to research if you are not a follower because they can look you up. All right. Okay, now let's go back here. And I just wanted to, like, the purpose, and this is on the research website, not the official website. It says Miss Belanoff's office uses the website Glom's Calling to distribute announcements to heads of state, military bases, law enforcement, Supreme Courts, and other organizations and power structures answerable to the World Governing Council of Wetton. Some of the messages are cryptic and some are clear instructions. So we're going to be looking at some of these. That is our goal today. And let's get started, or we'll never get through this. But actually, before we start there, again, I want to bring up a couple things because I read somewhere that somebody said, well, I tried to look up Ian Sinclair, but I couldn't find him. So what is it called? peoplearemeat.com. They said, oh, this can't be real because he's not a real person. Yes, he is. Hollydale's head chef is none other than Ian Sinclair, the famed blind butcher of Bedlam. Ian is a master chef, blind from birth, and trained at the Cordon Bleu in Paris. Convicted in 1909 of killing, butchering, cooking, and eating his business partners, he was ordered to serve a life sentence at the Bedlam Psychiatric Facility in London. In 2010, the Countess of Banbury and Arran, that is Somerset Belanoff, secured his release, and he remained in her employ as her personal chef until 2017, when he was appointed camp valet for the Owl's Nest at Bohemian Grove. In January 2019, Sinclair killed a U.S. senator's aide, and outraged Grovers petitioned the Countess to have him removed from the camp. In February 2019, Mr. Sinclair signed a lifetime contract and joined Karina Belanoff's staff at the Hollydale, where he now serves as head chef. So I don't know, these people that said, oh, there's no such a person. Yes, there is. All right. And again, another comment that I had, and I'm not even sure if it was on my channel or some of the places out there where they were discussing this, they were saying, oh, I don't believe that the Led Zeppelin song is about that. Well, and, you know, anybody can make that stuff up. Well, here we are on songfacts.com, and they say the very same thing. It says anyone who was part of the London glitterati scene in the late 60s, early 70s knew immediately the lyrics referred to Lady Somerset Belanoff, aka she's also referred to the Witch of Glom's Castle. Marianne Faithfull said Lady Belanoff was the most beautiful woman she had ever seen, but that she possessed a most terrifying beauty. In her book, Taller Than Our Souls, Margaret Atton described Belanoff and Page as occult rivals, though they also respected one another. She also wasn't a fan of Aleister Crowley and once referred to his occult circle as the Order of the Golden Shower. Elizabeth Somerset Fyodorova Boas Lyon Belanoff is a great granddaughter of Queen Victoria through Victoria's granddaughter, Princess Elizabeth of Hesse, Grand Duchess of Russia. Historians believe the Grand Duchess has had an affair with Rasputin as a part of the Tsar's inner circle, not circus. Elizabeth most certainly played a role in the plot to have Elizabeth most likely played a role in the plot to have the Mad Monk murdered. Belanoff himself was hinted that he is indeed the great granddaughter of Rasputin. She has an on again, off again relationship with Mark Bowen of T-Rex, who wrote the song Children of the Revolution, about Lady Somerset, as she heads an organization of that name, which is a sort of club for descendants of aristocrats destroyed by the Bolsheviks. Her great-grandmother was murdered by the Bolsheviks in 1918. Today, she owns half of Suriname, runs the website for Bohemian Grove, and is very close to Queen Elizabeth. They are, in fact, second cousins, I believe, but they're very, very close, apparently. Now, here we go. We're going to start looking into this. So we know the purpose of this, of all those entries, but we're going to go through them, starting from the very earliest one, and we're going to actually complete the year 2016 in this video. So this is the first one, and it says Satish Dhawan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and forgive me if I'm butchering it, Space Center, and that is who this is addressed to, and it says, you have a green light for January 20 launch of IRNSS-1E. Now, this was posted on January the 2nd, 2016, according to, WordPress. I would assume that it's a WordPress site. It looks like that same format. Now, so she's saying, she's giving this Space Center the green light to launch on January 20th. And this is what they're launching, IRNSS-1E. Well, this is what I did today. I just started looking up all this stuff. Now, the IRNSS-1E is the 5th out of 7 in the Indian Regional Navigational Satellite System series of satellites after IRNSS-1A, IRNSS-1B, IRNSS-1C, and IRNS-1D. It is among the 7 of the IRNSS constellation of satellites launched to provide navigational services to the region. And when was it launched? January the 20th. Yeah, and just so you know, this was posted January 2nd, and she said, green light for the launch on the 20th, and it launches. And P.S., it's, okay, successfully launched IRNSS-1E on January 20th at 9:31 hours from Satish Dhawan Space Center, which is the spaceport of India. Now, I don't know, how did she know that? And okay, I know some people are out there, oh, this is just all made up. Maybe it is, but all the information checks out. That's the thing. It all checks out. And that's what I'm showing you and demonstrating to you. All right, that was the only entry for January 2016. We're going to go to February 2016, and we find this. Carbonite 2 and TACSAT 5 are in position for dark vigilance. Assume directional control and update Windsor Tower on node 7 of the Calliope frequency. This was posted on February 21st, 2016. Well, again, I did the same thing. I just looked up all the things in this, and what did I find? So, TACSAT 5 is a planned 5th satellite in a series of U.S. military reconnaissance satellites. The project will be managed by the Air Force Research Laboratory in cooperation with the operationally responsive Space Office of the Department of Defense. Well, so yeah, it is a real satellite. All right, and let's look at this. Actually, we need to make this bigger because I know you tiny phone people. Oh, my heart bleeds for you tiny phone people. Okay, now this is the other satellite that's mentioned in this post, the Carbonite 2. The Carbonite 2 satellite, also known as Vivid X2, formerly called EIX2, features enhanced avionics to provide increased data storage, faster data downlink, improved pointing accuracy, and a full-color HD video camera. Several improvements over Carbonite 1 have been introduced. Improved geolocation by the addition of a star camera, improved telescope and imager design, improved data capacity by a factor of x16 times 16 with 2 deployable solar arrays and greater memory capacity and data downlink, includes experimentation with additive design technologies, evolutionary design techniques, and 3D printing. It was launched in early 2018, serves as the prototype for Earth's Vivid Eye constellation. Apparently, the Royal Air Force is the exclusive customer for image data from this satellite. So she is saying, let's refresh ourselves. Carbonite 2 and TACSAT 5 are in position for dark vigilance. Dark vigilance. Dark, I would assume, unseen. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, wait a minute. This one, the Carbonite 2, that didn't go up until 2018. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Because it was up and they were doing experiments and checking it out. Now, I don't know if they brought it back down and fixed whatever and then sent it back up. I don't know. But that was not the first time it had been up in 2018. It was not. So, and I'm not sure when this one was launched, but I think I probably have that information. Yeah. And the other thing that she mentioned here is, it says, assume directional control. Now, I would assume she's talking about Carbonite 2 and TACSAT 5 because they're in position for dark vigilance, which means probably surveillance that is not detectable. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But it says assume directional control and update Windsor Tower on node 7 of Calliope frequency. Now, that just sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook until you start looking into it. Then you find out that, and I've got additional links here, more because I'm going to upload this to Patreon and I want you guys to have all the links and stuff so you can look this up yourself. But here is, okay, let's see what we can glean from. There's so much information that it's okay. So this is the Carbonite 2 and the people that worked on it. And I'm trying to find where they said that it had been somewhere in these links. It says that it was up before that. Now, they may have launched it officially in 2018, but it was up before then. All right, now let's go back here and this is the more about the Carbonite 2. So these links are there. And then I looked up Calliope because I thought, what the heck? Like Calliope node, what was she saying? Node, not there, not there. Right here, she said, update Windsor Tower. And that's, you know, Windsor, like the royal, on node 7 of Calliope frequency. So node 7 of Calliope frequency. Well, I'd never heard of Calliope frequency, and probably you guys haven't either unless you work in this field. But it exists. It definitely exists. And here it is down here. It says Calliope chipset solution for Category 1 LTE devices for the Internet of Things. The Calliope LTE platform for IoT or LOT, I'm not sure, is a member of Sequan's Streamlight LTE family of LTE chipset products. Calliope is designed specifically for wearables and other Category 1 M2M and LOT devices. Calliope comprises baseband and RF chips, an integrated LOT applications processor running Sequan's carrier proven LTE protocol stack. And, this is way beyond me and understanding what they're talking about here, but it's quite obvious that this is a communication device and that it makes it easier for, I guess, it's saying M2M and is it IoT or LOT devices? It's to connect the Internet of Things. Calliope is ideal for adding Category 1 LTE connectivity to M2M and LOT modules and is also suitable for wearables and M2M devices for metering, home automation, and automotive applications. Well, if it's wearable and there's some way that they can communicate on that, and if there's some way to communicate that is not heard by everyone else, then that would make sense to me. But that, let me just see. I'm just going to see if this was a weird sound. Cats. It's what you get when you have cats. Weird sounds. So this is the company that makes it. And now, yeah, I don't really understand this, and maybe some of you do. This is not my area of expertise, so I will defer to somebody that does know more about this, but it is definitely a thing. And these nodes and these ways of communicating that they have, I have no doubt in the world that they exist. All right, now we're going to move on now to March 2016, and here we have this. It says, the World Governing Council supports impeachment for Dilma Rousseff. Marxist guerrillas do not good presidents make. Take note. Now, this is what it's talking about. Now, note, this was posted on March 5th, 2016. And impeachment of Dilma Rousseff, the impeachment of Dilma Rousseff, the 36th president of Brazil, began on the 2nd of December 2015 with a petition for her impeachment being accepted by Eduardo Cunha, then president of the Chamber of Deputies, and continued into late 2016. So, yes, that is exactly it was going on at the time that this was posted, and she was later impeached on August 31st, 2016. So this is March 5th, and Somerset Belanoff is saying, yeah, we support impeachment for her because guerrillas do not good presidents make. Take note. And she is later impeached. And the Brazilian parliament is called National Congress. So it says Brazilian Congressional Committee. Let me see. And here is another link about the Brazilian parliament. And let's look at this. And again, let me explain this because you're going to look at this and go, well, that's not a good source. Yes, some of these, like CNN, they're good sources when they're not talking about something that they're completely biased about, like the president. So it doesn't mean that every single thing that they say is false. Not at all. So yes, I do make use of all sources, especially in something like this where, having a bias one way or another really doesn't make too much sense. But here is Dilma Rousseff's impeachment explained in 500 words. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff has been impeached. On Wednesday, the Brazilian Senate voted 61-20 to remove her from office. Vice President Mishel will now take over as president for the foreseeable future. On the surface, the impeachment charges were about allegations that Rousseff cooked government's books to hide the scope of Brazil's deficit problem during her 2014 re-election campaign, but they were really about a bigger slate of problems in Brazil, most importantly, something called the Petrobras scandal. Now this is interesting, between about 2004 and 2014, the state-run energy firm Petrobras, which is Brazil's largest company and one of the largest corporations in the world, engaged in one of the most astonishing corruption schemes ever to be uncovered. We're talking upward of 5.3 billion changing hands. Basically, construction executives secretly created a cartel to coordinate bids on Petrobras contracts, and systematically overcharged the company. They then sent some of the profits they made from this to Petrobras workers as bribes, as well as to some politicians. An unrelated police investigation uncovered the Petrobras scandal in 2013. The first public arrests were made in 2014. To say the Brazilian public was infuriated would be an understatement. Literally, millions of people joined street protests. The scandal played into Brazil's defining political issue, inequality. Ever since colonial times, Brazil has been dominated by wealthy elites who thought they could get away with anything, and usually did. Petrobras implicated leaders of Brazil's largest state-owned company, its largest construction firms, and political leaders from across the spectrum. It exposed elite corruption on a level that, even in Brazil, was previously unimaginable. This was devastating for Rousseff. Though there's no evidence she was directly involved in the corruption, Rousseff was the chairwoman of Petrobras board from 2003 to 2010. This all occurred under her watch, a seemingly damning indictment of her judgment and competence. Moreover, her party, the leftist Worker Party, has cultivated a reputation for cleanliness, for sticking up for the common people against a corrupt system. Evidence that a number of PT politicians were involved in Petrobras has tarnished that brand considerably. The most notable PT figure that's been implicated is Luiz, I can't pronounce that, Brazil's last president and Rousseff's political mentor. In March, she tried to appoint Lula to her cabinet. A released wiretap recording suggests she was trying to shield him from charges. To make matters even worse, Brazil is going through a devastating economic crisis. The Brazilian real, its currency, is rapidly losing value at the same time as the country is experiencing a recession. This all prompted massive protests calling for Rousseff's ouster, mostly made up of people from Brazil's upper middle class. These protests emboldened Rousseff's political enemies to pursue impeachment, even though the charges were unrelated. But Temer has been convicted of corrupt electioneering and is barred from running for office for 8 years, so his time in office is limited, meaning Brazil is in for a chaotic several years. So don't you think that that's interesting, that that is going on when she posts that? And she is calling for this president to be impeached, and indeed she was a few months later. Okay, now let's go back here. So again, that checks out. Now, this is the second entry in March. It's rare that there are 2 entries in a month, but this is a month that does have it. And this is the second entry. Bohemian Grove Festival, praises to Nicole. Sing now the Hurrian hymn. May your tree bear fruit. Now, I know you're saying, well, how the heck are we going to know what that means? Well, we do. This was posted on March 25th, 2016. And let's look at this. And up here, she says, sing now the Hurrian hymn. And she's saying praises to Nicole. Sing now the Hurrian hymn. Well, I looked up Hurrian hymn, and the Hurrian songs are a collection of music inscribed in cuneiform on clay tablets excavated from the ancient Amorite Canaanite city of Ugarit headland in northern Syria, which date to approximately 1400 BCE. One of these tablets, which is nearly complete, contains the Hurrian hymn to Nicole, also known as the Hurrian cult hymn, or Luzi to the gods, or simply H6, making it the oldest surviving substantially complete work of noted music in the world. So this hymn is the oldest piece of music in the world. While the composer's names of some of the fragmentary pieces are known, H6 is an anonymous work. So they don't know who wrote that particular song, but it is the oldest surviving piece of music. Now, what is cuneiform? Cuneiform is a system of writing first developed by the ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia. Now, this is very, very interesting, and I've happened to have studied the background because I have studied a lot on where we got some of the occult things that we have now, like Moloch and things like that, and Baal. I have traced that all the way back, and that goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel. Abraham was from that area, and he left that area. And so, yeah, anyway, this is a form of writing, and it is considered the most significant among many cultural contributions of the Sumerians, and the greatest among those of the Sumerian city of Uruk, which advanced the writing of cuneiform. So cuneiform, or Sumero-Akkadian cuneiform, was one of the earliest systems of writing. So cuneiform is one of the earliest systems of writing. The Hurrian song is the oldest known surviving piece of music. It was invented by Sumerians in ancient Mesopotamia. And if you want to know where all of the occult originated, that's where. Samaria, Chaldees, that whole area. In ancient Mesopotamia, it is distinguished by its wedge-shaped marks on clay tablets made by means of a blunt reed for a stylus. The name cuneiform itself simply means wedge-shaped. And the reason why so many of these forms of writing have not survived is because clay is very susceptible to water. So if it gets wet, well, there goes your book, or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. All right. Now, let's go back to this hymn of Nikal. The complete song is one of 36 such hymns in cuneiform writing found on fragments of clay tablets excavated in the 1950s from the royal palace at Ugarit, present-day Ras Shamra, Syria, in a stratum dating from the 14th century BC, but it is the only one surviving in substantially complete form. An account of the group of shards, and the shards, or the pieces of the tablet, was first published in 1955 and 1968 by Emmanuel Laroche, who identified as parts of a single clay tablet the three fragments cataloged by the field archaeologists as RS 15.30, 15.49, and 17.387. In Laroche's catalog, the hymns are designated H for Hurrian, along with the smaller fragment RS. The complete hymn is H6 in the list. A revised text of H6 was published in 1975. All right. Now, what is this hymn about? What does it contain? Well, it contains the lyrics for a hymn to Nikal, a Semitic goddess of orchards. What is Bohemian Grove? An orchard. And instructions for a singer accompanied by a 9-stringed samoon, a type of harp, or much more likely a lyre. One of the tablets also contains instructions for tuning the harp. The Hurrian hymn predates several other surviving early works of music. And all right, let's come down. We're not done with this yet. So, this is the hymn to Nikal. And who is Nikal? Now, this says important, so I guess I better check this out. Okay, the hymn to Nikal. The Hurrian hymn to Nikal from 12th century BCE, Ugarit in Syria, is currently the oldest piece of annotated music known in history, being well over 3,200 years old. It dates from between 1400 and 1200 BCE and was discovered in the libraries of the city of Ugarit, today called Ras Sharma. Although it was written in cuneiform, it is actually in Hurrian rather than a West Semitic dialect such as Akkadian, Canaanite, Amorite, Aramaic, or Proto-Hebrew. This is a hymn to the great goddess Nikal, composed by a sacred scribe by the name of a name I can't pronounce. In addition to the words of the prayer, there are also instructions for tuning the kinnor, lyre, and these have been the focus of several studies by paleomusicologists. The Hurrian Moonrise has become a famous prayer song since its discovery in the early 1950s. And so they were excavating the palace there, and that is where these were found. And this isn't going to tell us too much, so we need to skip on over to this, and it's going to tell us who this goddess is that Somerset Belanoff is instructing people to sing praises to. Well, this is Nikal, which means great lady, and from Mesopotamia, Syro-Palestinian, Canaanite, and it says description: goddess of the moon, marriage, the fruitful earth, and fertile humanity, daughter of the summer's king. She whose fertility is in the Heros Gamos assures terrestrial abundance for humanity. She who is perhaps especially manifest in the new moon after harvest. Now, do I believe in these gods? Well, these gods have demons associated with them. Of course, if you are Christian, that is the truth, but it doesn't matter whether you believe that there is such a thing or not. They do. So, all right. Invocation, pleas, hymns, and other homage to her. All right. She who is perhaps especially manifest in the new moon after harvest. She's also called the fruitful one. She is associated with the Catharat, skilled ones, Sumerian equivalent, Ningal below. All right. And she basically, I believe she guards the gates to the underworld, if I'm not mistaken, but she's also, over abundance in the orchard and so forth. So note that Nin is often translated as lady. Maybe one is to assume from the above names given for Nin Gal that the element Gal means great. An alternative name of whatever is, and it's translated Queen of Deadland, and Nink Egal as Lady of Deadland. Ki is known to mean the surface of earth in the sense, I suppose, of location. Gal may therefore mean something closer to the great below, that is the dwelling place of the chaotic or chthonic deities. Thus a translation of Kingal as Deadland suggests Gal has a meaning more akin to death. So she is a mother goddess of the moon, fertility, and abundance, kind advisor on matters of love. And so, yeah, it's very, very interesting, all of this. That's who that this is talking about when Somerset Belanoff says that praises to Nikal, sing now the Hurrian hymn, may your tree bear fruit. Now, and this is Bohemian Grove Festival. So that is what she is instructing them to do. Posted on March 25th. And let's come down here further. Here is a loose translation of the hymn. For the ones that are offering to you, prepare 2 offering loaves in their bowls when I am making a sacrifice in front of it. They have lifted sacrifices up to heaven for their welfare and fortune. At the silver sword symbol at the right side of your throne, I have offered them. I will nullify them, the sins, without covering or denying them, the sins. I will bring them to you in order to be agreeable to you. You love those who come in order to be covered, reconciled. I have come to put them in front of you and to take them away through a reconciliation ritual. I will honor you and your footstool, not ... Not sure what that's all about. It is Nikal who will strengthen them. She she lets the married couples have children. She let them be born to their fathers. But the begetter will cry out, she has not borne any child. Why have not I, as a true wife, borne children for you? That is the loose translation. So there you go. Not just gobbledygook. It does refer to things. And I would not think the average person would even know about this stuff. All right. This is from April 2016. And again, the Satish Dhawan Space Center, April 20 launch not possible. You'll need to move launch to April 28. Well, I went to the Space Center and I looked up all the launch dates. And here we have it. This is the Satish Dhawan Space Center. And let me see here. And here is the launch date of the 28th of April. It was a success, and it was the IRN SSIG, the last out of 7 of the Indian Regional Navigational Satellite Systems launched. Well, isn't that interesting? Because she says here, April 20th launch is not possible. You'll need to move it to April 28th. This was posted on April 1st, well before the launch, and she is right, because that is when it's launched, when she said it'll be launched on the 20th. So again, we have that. Now, this is May 2016, and here is the entry. It says, Bahamut waits in the cold depths to destroy our ship. Mother Asherah guides the way. Make sacrifices to Hubal. To all these gods we pray. What is she talking about? We're going to find out. This was posted on May 23rd, 2016. And let's look at this. Okay, if you are familiar with the Bible, you may have heard the term behemoth. That is the equivalent. The name Bahamut is the Arabic version of behemoth in the Hebrew Bible. So what is this? Well, let's go here to mythology.net and see what this creature is. So it says, beneath the cosmos, surrounded by water and mist, swims Bahamut, a fish of incomprehensible dimensions who carries the world on his back. No human eye can see Bahamut, but without him, all humans would be plunged into darkness. Bahamut, also called Behemoth, is a vast fish who serves as a supporter of the world in Arabic cosmography, the study of the cosmos organization. Alternatively, in Hebrew mythology, is the largest land-dwelling creature ever to have been created. He is currently lurking in the underworld, but he will return during the chaos and destruction of the day of judgment. And it says, all the waters in the world placed in one of his nostrils would be like a mustard seed in a desert. So there you go. Special abilities. His power lies in his massive size and strength. According to Arabic mythology, he supports the 7 stages of the earth, which may refer to the 7 astronomical bodies visible to the naked eye: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the Sun, and the Moon, or to some division of the heavens above the earth. On his back, he carries a bull named Kujata. On Kujata's back, there is a mountain made of ruby. On top of the ruby mountain, an angel holds the 7 stages of the earth. Alternatively, a beach of sand lies on Bahamut's back. So, this is just all part of this myth and whatever. And the links are here if you want to discover this any further or delve into it any further. But let's go back. And it's also, Bahamut is also used in Dungeons and Dragons. In the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game, Bahamut is a powerful draconic deity who has the same name as Bahamut from Arabic mythology. All right. And who is Asherah? Well, it's very interesting because if you do a study and go back to where all the occult began, which really was the Tower of Babel. I mean, they were practicing the occult previously to that, but you'll see when they were scattered, their worship of one goddess became different names in different regions. That's why we have all these legends of, different goddesses, but they all really boil down to two. So, which Baal would be one, but that was not his original name. I don't have that right at the edge of my memory right now because it's been a long time since I studied it, but Asherah is one of those gods that directly came from that region. And when the people from that took it into the other regions, she became renamed. So she goes by many names. Asherah is one of them, and actually this ties all the way back to Semiramis. I don't know if you guys know anything about this or if I'm just talking to myself, but if you ever want me to do a video on that and where we get these so-called gods that like Baal and so forth, I could do that. All right. Now, this is Asherah. She's a Semitic goddess. And Asherah, ancient West Semitic goddess, consort of the supreme god, not the supreme god. Her principal epithet was probably she who walks on the sea. She was occasionally called Elath, the goddess, and may have been called Kudshu, holiness. According to the text from Ugarit, modern Rashama, Syria, Asherah's consort was El, and by him she was the mother of 70 gods. As mother goddess, she was widely worshipped throughout Syria and Palestine, though she was frequently paired with Baal, who often took the place of El as Baal's consort. Asherah was usually given the name Baalat. Inscriptions from the two locations in southern Palestine seem to indicate that she was also worshipped as the consort of Yahweh, which she is not. And the interesting thing was, the maypole, where they used to take that and they would go around the pole, like they had this pole dance that they did, a traditional, I think it was called the maypole. I don't know. But anyway, that is from the worship of Asherah. That's where that comes from. All right. Now, let's go back. So Asherah, she is saying, again, let's look at this. Behemoth waits in cold depths to destroy our ship. Mother Asherah, guide the way. Make sacrifices to Hubal. To all these gods we pray. So they're asking for protection on their ship. Now, let's come down here. Now, Hubal is the Islam moon god. And actually, well, let's go there. And I hesitate to even get into this because I don't want all these people. What is quite certain is that pagan Arabs in Mecca worshipped a moon god called Hubal at the Kaaba. Hubal was the lord of the Kaaba, being the highest ranking god of the 360 gods worshipped in the Kaaba. Now, here's the amazing thing. Allah was also worshipped as the Lord of the Kaaba, yet Allah was never represented by any idol of physical nature. To suggest the polytheistic Arabs never created an idol to represent Allah is simply unreasonable and unbelievable. We suggest rather that Hubal, who was the pagan Arabs addressed their prayers to Allah through. In other words, Allah was Hubal. Muhammad came along and smashed the idol of Hubal, and now the Arabs had no idol of Allah to pray through anymore. Hubal was forgotten. There are stories in Sirah of pagan Meccan praying to Allah while standing beside the image of Hubal. So, yeah, so that is apparently Hubal. And let's go back here. And this is interesting because in May, Now, this has something to do with the ship, and she's praying, or she's petitioning these ancient gods, I guess probably also her followers around the world, petitioning them to pray to the gods to protect their ship. Now, if we look at the Guardian from 2016, May 26, China sent nuclear-armed submarine into Pacific U.S. So is this what she's talking about? She's asking them to protect weights in cold depths to destroy our ship. So what kind of a ship would that be if it's in the depths? It would be a submarine. There's no other ship that goes down and, is able to lurk in the cold depths. So there you go. She's praying to these pagan gods to protect the ship. And if we look here in the news, in May 26, China to send nuclear-armed submarines into Pacific amid tensions with U.S. I don't know. Is it related? I don't know. But it's interesting. There doesn't seem to be anything else submarine-related happening during that month. So I don't know. But these are nuclear-armed submarines, and it says last Tuesday, a U.S. spy plane and 2 Chinese fighter jets came close to colliding 50 miles of Hainan Island, where China's 4 Jin-class ballistic missile submarines are based. So I don't know who she is. It would be impossible at this point to be able to tell who she is. What is her ship? What is, she says, our ship? What is that ship? It's definitely a submarine. So, and she's praying for protection for it. So I don't know. But that is from the month of May. And from there, and see, it's interesting because that is when Nikal is worshipped, is in May. That is when Asherah is worshipped. That's why they had the maypole. So yeah, anyway, so let's go to, wait, where are we here? Oh, I lost my place big time here. Yeah, but Mother Asherah was worshipped with the pole. So that is where that whole idea comes from. And I should have looked up something on that. I didn't, but that's where it comes from. Okay, let's go back down here. Here is the second one, the second post in May. This was posted on May 23rd, and it says, Brinsop Court delegates contact Mr. Grover on forgotten frequency and use node November Papa Charlie. Well, I worked for the police, so I happen to know that is the way that if you need to give somebody information, instead of just saying NPC to somebody, you would say November Papa Charlie. There's a whole list of them, like Zulu, and I mean, you do that because there are certain letters in the alphabet that are confusing, like Z and B, and C and Z. There's a lot of letters that sound the same, so they have this system. We used it in the police force because if they're giving you a license plate number, you have to make sure that's correct, and you have to make sure you heard correctly. So that is how they say that. So this node really is NPC. That's the node, because November Papa Charlie is NPC. Be advised, at this time, there is no parallel vibration between the planes, and the node is a bit unstable. Should you encounter problems, contact Quarrington Hill for guidance. All right, so let's take a look at this and see if there's anything here that checks out. Well, this is Brinsop Manor right here. So that is, Brinsop Court right here. So that is a real place. And this is it. It's Brinsop Court Manor House and Barn. And this is a picture of it. And apparently it is a great destination for weddings. I can only imagine how much it would cost. But this is in Herefordshire. And it says, Yeah, it's a place that's extremely expensive, and a lot of people have their weddings there. But there are delegates because there's probably royalty associated with, or I don't know, Brinsop Court, because this definitely was a historic manor house. So I don't know, but that is who she's calling to, the Brinsop delegates. Delegates to what? I don't know. Contact Mr. Clover. Now, I didn't have any luck with that, Mr. Clover, on forgotten frequency, and use node NPC. Be advised, at this time, there is no parallel vibration between the planes, and the node is a bit unstable. Should you encounter problems, contact Quarrington Hill for guidance. Okay, so this sounded a little bit way out there, and I was like, what? I thought when I looked at this, I'm not going to be able to find anything on that. Oh, but I did. And here we go. This would probably be better researched by somebody that understands this. If there's any of you out there that is very good at physics or has a master's or a doctorate in physics, I mean, I know that the chances are slim, but somebody out there, somebody studies physics. I didn't, but maybe I should have. All right. So I put in plane of vibration into Google, and it says the plane containing the optic axis in which the vibrations occur is known as plane of vibration. The plane which is at right angles to the plane of vibration and which contains the direction of propagation of the polarized light is known as the plane of polarization. Now, if you go down through here, it does have to do with communications of sort. And so it says plane of vibration, hang on here. Polarized light waves are restricted in their direction of vibration. Normal light waves vibrate in an infinite number of directions perpendicular to their direction of travel. For example, in the head-on view of unpolarized light, the lines A, B, C, D, and an infinite number of others are perpendicular to the ray. At a particular instance, any one of them might represent the direction of vibrations. Thus, from moment to moment, the direction of light variation changes in a random fashion. When components of vibration in one direction only are present, the light is plane polarized. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with it or not, but there is something that is hindering communication. I mean, that is obvious to me because they're saying that this node that they're using, this forgotten frequency node, is there's no parallel vibration between the planes, so that node is unstable. Now, if any of you are good in physics and understand what this is talking about, let us know in the comments below, because we all want to learn, including myself. Now, this is from June, and this is very interesting. It says, Downing Street. Mr. Cameron, you may step down. This was posted on June 24th, and it refers to David Cameron. And he is the former British Prime Minister. And when did he step down? Well, we're going to find out. David William Donald Cameron is a British politician who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 2010 to 2016. He was a Member of Parliament for Whitney from 2001 to 2016 and leader of the Conservative Party from 2005 to 2016. So let's look at this. And this, remember, June 24th is when this was posted. Mr. Cameron, you may step down. Moving vans at 10 Downing Street as David Cameron prepares to leave office. This was July 12th. July 12th. Moving vans began arriving at 10 Downing Street on Tuesday as British Prime Minister David Cameron chaired his final cabinet meeting ahead of ceding the reins to incoming leader Theresa May. Tuesday marks the final full day of Cameron's 6-year run as Prime Minister, which has come to a quicker than expected end after his ruling Conservative Party moved swiftly to settle on a successor. So, so removals are underway at 10 Downing Street, and this was July 12th. And when did she post this? June 24th. Yeah. Interesting. Now, let's look at the second post for June 2016, and Obergermeister von Hamelin. This refers to the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin that led away all the children. And it said, Lord Mayor Gries, Wetton extends to you our warm regards on this day of mourning. It is 732 years since our children left. Now, she has a strange fascination with this legend, and why, I don't know. Now, what is a Lord Mayor? Lord Mayor is a title of a mayor of what is usually a major city in the United Kingdom or Commonwealth realm, with special recognition bestowed by the sovereign. However, the title or an equivalent is present in other countries, including forms such as High Mayor. Aldermen usually elect the Lord Mayor from their ranks, who consequently become a member of the council aldermen. And I did try to look up who was the Lord Mayor of Hamelin in 2016, and I did not have any luck, but let's look at this. Hamelin is actually is a town on the River Weser in Lower Saxony, Germany. It is the capital of the district of Hamelin Paramont and has a population of roughly 56,000. Hamelin is best known for the tale of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. All right, now let me shut some of these down here. Okay, let's come back here. And so let's look at this. It says ancient origins, and this is the history of this disturbing true story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. And it says, when lo, as they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed, and the piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in, to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. So that is where the children went. They were led away by the music of the piper. He had been hired by the town to get rid of the rats. And as he played the pipe, yes, the rats left, and so did the children. And it's set in 1284. And that saying that she is saying, it's been 732 years since our children left. Well, there was a something found in one of the churches there that was written, it has been 100, now this is old, this would be back in the 1200s or 1300s, and somebody had said it's been 100 years since our children left. So that is where she's getting that from, that saying. But this is very odd too, because of course, the story centers around children, and I looked this up, and it says, in Canada, the only town with a Lord Mayor in the traditional sense is Niagara-on-the-Lake, as recognition of its role as the first capital of Upper Canada, because it used to be Upper and Lower Canada. Usually the Council of Brantford, Ontario, has taken upon itself to appoint an honorary Lord Mayor, Walter Gretzky, in addition to the elected mayor. This is the only example of a council granting the cachet itself rather than the cachet being granted by a higher authority, such as the Crown or national government. So Canada, in all its vastness, only has one Lord Mayor. Now, that's news to me. I found that a little fascinating. I'm going to take some tea so my voice doesn't give out. And let's look at this. Now, this is something else that came up. Niagara-on-the-Lake is the only city in Canada that has a Lord Mayor. And I found this, Lord Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, terms of reference. Well, and look who is on this. Trinity Gries is on this council. And what does this council do? The purpose of Lord Mayor's Youth Advisory Council is to give a voice to the youth of Niagara-on-the-Lake, encourage youth involvement within the community, offer opportunities for youth to be part of local activities and events, provide leadership opportunities and experience for youth, and allow youth to help build the Niagara-on-the-Lake community. Okay, all that sounds really, really good, but it's weird. It's weird because there's the Lord Mayor thing, and then there's Trinity, Greece. Trinity, Greece. Now, let's come back here. And what does she say? Lord Mayor, Greece. Now, Trinity, Greece is not the Lord Mayor of Niagara-on-the-Lake, but I still thought it was very interesting because it's the same name, and they have this council for the youth in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Whether it's connected or not, I have no idea, but I'm just throwing it out there. So this is German, and this is the translation into English. Lord Mayor Greece, Wetton extends to you our warm regards on this day of mourning. It is 732 years since our children left. Now, this has got to have some sort of significance other than, you know, commemorating the Pied Piper. I mean, of all the things to commemorate, I just don't get it, because nobody even knows if it's real or just a legend. So there you go. I'm going to move on from that, and now we are in July 2016. And this says, crepuscular wolves take comfort at eventide, gossamer nightshade. Now, this is one that I spent literally hours on and could not come up with. Now, I know what some of this means. Crepuscular is an adjective, and it says resembling or related to twilight. And of course, twilight is that in-between time where it's not light and it's not dark. It's just that area. And actually, most accidents happen at twilight, believe it or not, because your vision is reduced because of the lighting is draining. And so that is what it says. So this really could be translated, and it says zoology of an animal appearing or active in twilight. So it's calling to the wolves that are active at twilight. Wolves that are active at twilight. Take comfort at eventide. What does eventide mean? Has nothing to do with the ocean. Eventide is a very, very old name for twilight. So it says take comfort at twilight. So twilight wolves take comfort at the twilight. Gossamer nightshade. Now, that is where I don't know. This is what I have. Oh, and by the way, this has Angevin Tower, and let's see, where are we here? Right here. There was an empire, Angevin Empire, historical empire, Europe. The Angevin Empire, the territories extending in the latter part of the 12th century. Now, again, we're in the 12th century here, where the legend of the Pied Piper happened. And it says the latter part of the 12th century from Scotland to the, oh, crap, I used to know how to pronounce that, Pyrenees, I believe, that were ruled by the English king Henry II and his immediate successor Richard I and John. They were called the Angevin kings because Henry's father was Count of Anjou. Henry acquired most of his continental possessions before becoming King of England. By inheritance through his mother, King Henry I's daughter, Matilda, he became Duke of Normandy in 1150. He succeeded his father as Count of Anjou. Anyway, we're not going to go through all that, but it was an empire. It refers to the empire of territories extending in the latter part of the 12th century from Scotland to the Pyrenees. So that's what that means. And let's go back here. So this is that's the title of it. The Sorry. Where did we go here? There we go. Angevin Tower. That's what the title of this is. And Twilight Wolves Take Comfort at Twilight. Gossamer Nightshade. Just an alternate way of saying it. Posted on July 4th. I did look in the World Catalog of Events for July 4th, 2016. Didn't find anything that really struck me as being, applicable. And so what does gossamer mean? Most of us know that, but gossamer most commonly refers to fine spider silk used by spiderlings for ballooning or kiting. Or gossamer fabric is very light, sheer, gauze-like fabric. But isn't that interesting? Fine spider silk. And it takes me back to Bohemian Grove, where they have a sign, "Weaving spiders, come not here." Whether it's related or not, I don't know. But just thought I would throw it in there. And eventide, of course, is an archaic word for evening. It's that part of the evening that it's not light, it's not dark, it's in between, twilight. And the only thing that happened on that day in 2016 that I thought possibly, because it was a big deal, NASA's Juno spacecraft successfully enters Jupiter's orbit. Whether that's related, I can't see how you can connect that to this gossamer nightshade. And of course, nightshade is, there's a certain vegetables are nightshade, like potatoes and tomatoes and others, but also belladonna, or what else was it? Opium, that comes from nightshade. And also there's forms of nightshade plants that are very, very deadly. So I looked that up because I thought maybe it has to do with somebody being poisoned. I looked up all that and the dates and everything. No, nobody poisoned important in July 2016. So that's it for that. I just have to say, I don't know about that one. Now, this is a second one posted on July 15th, and this is an odd one as well, because it says Saint Swithin. Now, who is Saint Swithin? Well, he is a real saint, absolutely, and he is the patron saint of Winchester Cathedral. Now, Winchester will rejoice when the remains of Saint Swithin are returned to his feretory platform. Well, this one kind of makes sense. Swithin, here is Swithin, was an Anglo-Saxon bishop of Winchester and subsequently patron saint of Winchester Cathedral. His historical importance as bishop is overshadowed by his reputation for posthumous miracle working. According to tradition, if it rains on St. Swithin's Bridge on his feast day, it will continue for 40 days. And guess when his feast day is? His feast day is July 15th, which is exactly when this was posted. Now, if we look up here, I found this in a book, and it's Winchester Cathedral. This book is called The Cathedral Church of Winchester, a description of its fabric and a brief, whatever. Let's come down here. Whoops. Okay, so we now return to the body of the cathedral and pass to the surroundings of the choir. The feretory, where the fereta, or shrines of the saints, were placed, lies behind the high altar, and reredos and the two doors in the latter give access to it. At one time, before the erection of the reredos, the feretory must have been visible from the choir. Behind the doors is a raised platform 7 feet in breadth, extending right across. The upper surface of this is now only 3 feet above the ground level, but originally it must have been far higher. 4 steps give access to it. Before, it is a hollow space with stumps of piers demonstrating the ancient present of an arcade in front of the platform. The rectory is without internal decoration, but the exterior of the east wall is adorned with 9 rich decorated tabernacles with the yet legible names of saints and king who once occupied the 18 pedestals within them. This inscription is to be found here. Corpora Sanctorum I don't know. That's in Latin, and it's a dead language. The floor beneath the platform is supported by a small vault, the entrance to which, to quote Willis, is by a low arch. In the eastern face of the wall, under the range of tabernacles, this vault is that which was designed as the Sanctum Sanctorum, or Holy Hole. The rectory is used as a receptacle for the carved work found at various dates around the cathedral, including portions of statuary once belonging to the great screen. Here lies a really marvelous lid of a, okay, whatever. So that is what the refectory is. It contained the bodies of the saints. So I would assume that the body of this guy, Switham, Saint Switham, was there, right? She is saying, okay, let me see here. I overshot my mark. I overshot it. There we go. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay, Winchester will rejoice when the remains of Saint Swithin are returned to his phylactery platform. So there is a phylactery platform, but are his remains not there? I don't know. But this is his feast day, July 15th, and she's saying, well, the cathedral will rejoice when the remains of Saint Switham are returned. Well, did they ever leave? I could not find any historical reference to that at all. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I couldn't find any record of it. So that is what that's talking about. And again, these are purposefully cryptic. They are to someone, because these are directions from the Council of Wetton, the Upper Council of Wetton, Chamber of the Upper, I don't know. I get it all mixed up what it's all called, all these crazy names. And let's take a look at this. And Saint Swithin, the cathedral's patron saint, the life of Saint Swithin, an Anglo-Saxon bishop, is rich in legend. A century after his death in 863, he was chosen as patron saint for the cathedral's Benedictine monastery. His bones, housed in a splendid reliquary, became famed for their healing powers. His cult lasted until the Reformation, when all traces of his shrine were swept away. So maybe that is what she's talking about, is that, after the Reformation, all traces of his shrine were swept away. Now, what that means, I don't know. So maybe that's what she's referring to. But let me just see. What happened to his shrine? The cult of Saint Swithin and his shrine came to an abrupt end during the Reformation, when King Henry VIII seized control of the Catholic Church in England and declared himself head of the Church of England. On the 21st of September, 1538, under cover of darkness at 3 a.m. in the morning, the king's commissioners smashed it apart and stole all the valuables. 3 years later, a workman stopped up the Holy Hole. Nothing remains of this once great shrine today, but you can see a modern memorial that marks the spot. So I guess that answers the question. So what she is saying is that these bones, these remains, need to be returned to the refectory where they should be. So that's interesting. And I guess she is saying that because that is the day that is his feast day. All right. Let's go on now. Now, this is August 2016. Interesting. It says a murder of crows. Now, in case you don't know, because I know that sounds odd. What? A murder of crows? A group of crows is called a murder. So a murder of crows is just a gathering of crows, a group of crows together. It's called a murder. Yeah, just like a group of baboons is called a congress, believe it or not, which I guess is appropriate, isn't it? So let's read what this says. She's got a picture of a crow there, and it says, up on Gallows Hill, dark figures hand down judgment, summer of the crows. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? A murder of crows, a gathering of crows. So up on Gallows Hill, and that would be a hill where they hang people, dark figures hand down judgment, summer of the crows. Now, let's look at this. Gallows Hill, let's look up that first. Wow, this is going to be a very long video, but I don't want to break it up now. Gallows Hill is a name given to a hill serving or formerly serving as the site of a gallows. Such places include, in the British Isles, there's several places. United States, there's several places. Australia, there's one. All right, it says Gallows Hill could refer to a 1997 supernatural thriller. I don't think that that is applicable. Or a 2013 American horror film. Don't think it's applicable. Or Gallows Hill, a hill in Scotland. But I'm thinking it's talking about actual Gallows Hill, where, because it says it's talking about judgment. And of course, that's what happens at the gallows, right? Now, let's look at now, what's a murder of crows? And I covered that already. A group of crows is called a murder. There are several different explanations for the origin of this term, mostly based on old folk tales and superstitions. For example, see, I'm getting tired now. There's a folk tale that crows will gather and decide the capital fate of another crow. Now, here we have it. Here, I believe, is what she's talking about, because there's a folktale that crows will gather and they decide the fate of another crow, whether he should live or whether he should die. So, look it up here. It says, up on Gallows Hill, dark figures hand down judgment. A murder of crows. So is that murder of crows deciding the fate of whoever has been handed down judgment and is about to die on the gallows? And it says summer of the crows. So maybe there's dark fingers handing down judgment that whole summer. I don't know, but you know, some of this could be just symbolic, and we don't have to take everything literal, because I don't think it all is literal. But that's what I would think that this has to do with, is some sort of a judgment coming on someone, a capital murder case, or where they will be judged for a capital crime. And of course, the summer of the crows, what do crows do? They gather together to decide the fate, whether a person lives or whether a crow lives or whether a crow dies. No, they're not, they don't import crows into the penal system and have them decide on the fate of those on death row. That doesn't happen. All right. But then I guess you probably knew that. So, all right. Many view the appearance of crows as an omen of death because ravens and crows are scavengers and are generally associated with dead bodies, battlefields, and cemeteries, and they're thought to circle in large numbers above sites where animals or people are expected to soon die. So again, that ties into it as well. Now, these are the characteristics of crows as well. They are intelligent. They are considered pests by farmers trying to protect their crops and seedlings. Many people fear them simply because of their black feathers, which are often associated with death. But research demonstrated in a murder of crows proves, whoever wrote this isn't a very good writer, research demonstrated crows are actually very social and caring creatures, and also among the smartest animals on the planet. Whether that plays into it or not, I don't know. But here we go. We're in September 2016. And this is the entry. Mabon, son of Modron, what is lost will soon be found. A light shines in neglected caverns, and the reaper is nigh. So this was on September 5th, 2016. And let me read that again. Mabon, son of Modron, what is lost will be found. Why will it be found? Because a light shines in neglected caverns, and the reaper is nigh. And what's a reaper? It's one who reaps. Now, we're used to hearing the Grim Reaper, but I don't know necessarily if it's referring to that. It's just saying the reaper is nigh. And it's saying what is lost will be found. Somebody's going to reap that, right? They're gonna reap it. They're gonna pick it up, and because a light shines in neglected caverns. All right, let's come down here. Mabon is the divine son and the son of light, god of sex, love, magic, prophecy, and power. The sun god Mabon is also known as the Welsh and Gaelish god Meponas. The name means great sun. His mother was Modron, and his father was Urian, a deity of the underworld. The book of Taliesin refers to him as the chief of the glittering west. Some myths pair Mabon with a brother who represented darkness, just as Mabon represented light, and the black book of whatever purports to state the location of the grave of Mabon. As with many Celtic deities, Mabon is thought to have been an actual person. While still in infancy, 3 nights after his birth, he was taken from his mother to be held captive for eons within the walls of Gloucester. And the story of his kidnapping, imprisonment, and eventual rescue is called The Tale of Culwich and Olwen from the Mabinogion, whatever. Upon his release, and while a ruler of Wales, he is said to have ridden with Arthur in the Battle of Badon. So, the myths surrounding Mabon also state that he was to have been a hunter of great renown, revered not only by the Celts, but also the Roman soldiers who patrolled Hadrian's Wall. Even today, traces of this god can still be found. The village of Lochenmaben and the standing stone, Glockmabenstein, in, I can't pronounce these places, were named after him. So that is, now whether she's using this, Mabon, the son of Modron, but I think she's using it symbolically, and because he is supposedly the god of light, and his brother is the god of darkness, and he is saying, what is lost will be found. Why or how? Because a light shines in neglected caverns. So what was lost there is going to be found or reaped. So I don't know what exactly this is referring to. I'd like to tell you that I do, but I don't, and I'd be lying. So this is October 2016, and it says, Arish Kigal, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I would assume that I'm not. Once again, it is that time in the year when many of our friends, now what happens in October? Right, Halloween. That is a very, very, very big day in the occult. And when is she writing this? October 30th, the night before Halloween. All right, just to give it a little bit of a... Once again, it is that time in the Earth year when many of our friends will journey from the astral realms to this side of the veil. As per our usual procedure, you will instruct Nettie to open the 7 gates and withdraw his hounds that our visitors may pass. Now, what is that referring to? Well, Erishagal, also known as Erkala and Alatu, is the Mesopotamian queen of the dead who rules the underworld. Her name translates as Queen of the Great Below or Lady of the Great Place. So she was the queen of the great earth. She was the goddess of Ker, the land of the dead, in underworld in Sumerian mythology. In later East Semitic myths, she was said to rule Urkala alongside her husband Nergal. Sometimes her name is given as Urkala, similar to the way the name Hades was used in Greek mythology for both the underworld and its ruler, and sometimes it is given as Ninkigal, literally Lady of the Great Earth. In Sumerian myths, she was the one who could pass judgment and give laws in her kingdom. The main temple dedicated to her was located in Kutha. In ancient Sumerian poems, she is described as Inanna's older sister. The two main myths involving are the story of her descent into the underworld and the story of her marriage to the god Nergal. All right, now that doesn't answer too much of our questions, except that we now know that she is god of the earth. She is queen of the underworld, or queen of the dead. And Neti features prominently in the epic legend of Inanna's descent into the underworld when he opens the 7 gates of the realm and admits the goddess, removing one emblem of her power at the threshold of each gate until she is ultimately left naked and powerless. Now, the astral plane is the level beyond the physical, the realm of dreams, spirits, and psychic phenomena, the substance and vehicle for contact between the material and the mystical. So, and really this comes from a Sumerian tale of injustice, because well, let me go here and let me explain. Boy, this is going to be a very long video. But Inanna's descent, a Sumerian tale of injustice. Now, Sumerian poem, The Descent of Inanna, circa 1900 to 1600 BCE, chronicles the journey of Inanna, the great goddess and queen of heaven, from her realm in the sky to earth and down into the underworld to visit her recently widowed sister, Ereshkigal, queen of the dead. The poem begins famously with the lines, "From the great above, she opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, the goddess opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, Inanna opened her ear to the great below." The work then goes on to describe Inanna's descent to the underworld, accompanied part of the way by her faithful servant and advisor, Ninshebur. Inanna is dressed in her finest clothes and wears the crown of heaven on her head, beads around her neck, her breastplate, golden ring, and carries her scepter, the rod of power. Just before she enters the underworld, she gives Ninshebur her instructions on how to come to her aid should she fail to return when expected. Upon her arrival at the gates of the underworld, Inanna knocks loudly and demands entrance. Neti, the chief gatekeeper, asks who she is, and when Inanna answers, "I am Inanna, queen of heaven," Neti asks why she would wish entrance to the land from which no traveler returns. Inanna answers, "Because of my older sister, Ereshkigal, her husband, the bull of heaven, has died. I have come to witness the funeral rites." Neti then tells her to stay where she is while she goes to speak with Ereshkigal, or whatever her name is. When Neti delivers the news that Inanna is at the gates, the queen of the dead responds in a way that seems strange. She slapped her thigh and bit her lip. She took the matter into her heart and dwelt on it. She does not seem pleased to hear the news that her sister is at the gate, and her displeasure is further evidenced when she tells Neti to bolt the 7 gates of the underworld against Inanna and then let her in, 1 gate at a time, requiring her to remove one of her royal garments at each gate. Neti does as she is commanded, and gate by gate, Inanna is stripped of her crown, beads, ring, scepter, even her clothing, and when she asks the meaning of this indignity, is told by Neti, "Quiet, Inanna. The ways of the underworld are perfect. They may not be questioned." Inanna enters the throne room of Ereshkigal, naked and bowed low, and begins walking toward the throne. When the Anuna, the judges of the underworld, surround her, they pass judgment against her. Then Ereshkigal fastened on Ivana, the eye of death. She spoke against her the word of wrath. She uttered against her the cry of guilt. She struck her. Inanna was turned into a corpse, a piece of rotting meat, and was hung from a hook on the wall. Yeah. Now, the thing is, I don't believe these things, but I believe that there are demonic entities that have influenced these so-called legends or whatever. And these people, the elites, yes, they follow this stuff. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we believe it or not. They do. So let's go back here and see if we can make sense of this. So it is the night before Halloween when she writes this. This is a picture that can also be interpreted as Semiramis or Ashtra. They all come from the same. Like I said, there isn't that there is a whole bunch of deities. It's that there were certain deities in where the Tower of Babel, which is real. That is a real story. I mean, that really happened. The Tower of Babel. And when they were dispersed, they took the names of these gods into all the surrounding regions, and they were interpreted differently. So, when you can talk about one god, small g, and it can have many, many, many names. So there you go. All right. So what she says is, once again, it's that time of year. What time of year is that? It's Halloween, All Hallows Eve. And it's the time of year, says Somerset Bellin. Oh my gosh, my mind is just going on me. Belanoff. It's a time of year when many of our friends will journey from the astral realms to this side of the veil. So that this is the time of year when the dead will come back. As per our usual procedure, you will instruct Nettie, who is the guardian of the gates of hell, to open the 7 gates and withdraw his hounds that our visitors may pass. So he's asking that the guard of the gates of hell would open those gates and allow these dead to come forth and visit on this side of the veil. That is what she's asking. She wants him to open the 7 gates and withdraw his hounds. You've heard of the hounds of hell, that our visitors may pass. They're wanting to visit with people, on dead people, really. They want them to appear on this side of the veil, even though they're dead and past. That is what she's asking there. That is what she's referring to. All right, let's go on now. We're getting there. November 2016. This is interesting. Washington Tower. You'll recall my instructions at our most recent Camp David meeting. The founders implemented a sacred tradition, and it must be followed. Our dark vigilance deep listening system, and remember that's connected to those satellites. Remember they said dark vigilance? She had mentioned that previously. It has to do with the satellite, deep listening system, satellite, in conjunction with Vibe Satellite 3, has detected elements within your camp who are opposed to the election results and who may be planning a major disruption. Now, this is November 2016. He hasn't been inaugurated yet. So others are likely planning to nullify your election results. And isn't that what they tried? They said, oh, it's not proper because of the electorate and all that stuff. That was one thing they tried among many. So others are planning to nullify your election results and may even attempt to gain your support in pursuing an alternative transition strategy. Now, I don't know what she means. Alternative transition strategy. That is inconsistent with your current constitutional rules. I'm confident of your ability to rein in any such rogue elements, and I'm issuing a pointed directive. You will depart on schedule. Now, here's the thing. She's talking directly to President Trump. That's who she's talking to here. She's saying you'll recall my instructions at our most recent Camp David meeting. And remember, we've been told that this person can go to Camp David, go anywhere uninvited, and is welcomed. So she's saying the founders of who? The founders of America implemented a sacred tradition, and it must be followed. So she's saying, yeah, we have to follow the Constitution. You have to follow the Constitution and what the founders set in place. Our dark vigilance deep listening system, so those are their satellites and their ways of knowing this, has detected elements within your camp who are opposed to the election results. Well, isn't that true? Boy, nothing has ever been so true as that. And maybe planning a major disruption. Well, yeah, trying to impeach the president, that's pretty major. Anyway, it says that they want an alternative transition strategy that is inconsistent with your current constitutional laws or rules. And then it says, I'm confident of your ability to rein in any rogue elements, and I'm issuing a pointed directive. You will depart on schedule. Now, what does that mean? I think that she's referring to there's a schedule of how long he'll be in office. Now, I don't know what to think of this. I'm just giving you my interpretation. Now, how this applies to the situation we're in with Q and Trump, I don't know. But I'm giving you my interpretation. I'm thinking that this woman is saying that he will depart on schedule. He's not going to be impeached. He's not. Well, he is impeached, sort of, but not really until the articles get to the Senate. And of course, he's not really going to be impeached. And she's saying you will depart on schedule. You'll depart when you're supposed to depart. You're not going to depart earlier. And of course, Nancy Pelosi was flapping her gums today, saying that, well, we've got to get him out at any cost or whatever before the election. Anyway, we'll get to that because I'm planning on doing a second video. Okay, Camp David. I've got an explanation here, but I think we all know what Camp David is. Maybe some of the listeners overseas may not, but it's a country retreat for the President of the United States. It's located in the Wooded Hills of I'm not sure how to pronounce that, actually, Mountain Park near Thurmont, Maryland. So anyway, yeah, not far from Washington. Okay, let's go on to the next. In that month, November, it says Satish Dhawan Space Center, your December 7th launch of Resource 2A is conditionally approved pending confirmation by the upper chamber. Stand by and await confirmation. And of course, we get to December. Now, this was posted November 20th. We get to December 2016, and this is the last entry that we're going to go over in this video. And I know you're saying, oh, thank goodness, is she ever going to shut up? Satish Dhawan Space Center, your December 7th launch of Resource Satellite 2A is fully approved. You have a green light. That was posted on December 1st. And when did this Resource Satellite 2A get launched? December 7th. So she's saying up here that in November, she's saying, yeah, your December 7th launch of the satellite is conditionally approved pending confirmation by the upper chamber. Stand by and await confirmation. And then here it says your December 7th launch is fully approved. You have green light, and it's launched December 7th. So yeah, there's way too much of this to just dismiss and say, oh, there's nothing to that. Because there is something to this. I don't care what anybody says. There is. And so that is it. Now, I am planning on doing a series of videos. I'm going to cover next 2017 and then 2018, 2019. So, and possibly anything else that I find out in the meantime. Now, and let me know if you're completely bored with this and think, no, please, for the love of all that's holy, shut up about this. Well, then, I'll consider. I'm not going to waste my time if nobody is interested in watching it. So now I do want to thank these people because this is what makes the channel possible. To my coffee donors, Maya S., thank you very much. Brian C. Anon, and Teresa And thank you, Teresa. I am very interested in seeing the information that you have, by the way. And we picked up a new Patreon supporter, Paula Harris. So thank you so much, guys. Really, it is what makes this possible. All right. And again, I will put this link to my alternative platform in the posted comments below. And that will be it for this video. And let's hope I have enough oomph to get through the next one. All right, guys. Good night. What was I going to say? I've lost what I was even going to say. Yeah, I need a break for a little bit and then I'll record. Okay. Good night, guys.